So I think for 2 or 3 weeks, the players kind of like were just in disbelief to think that, yes, the show's got to go on. Yes, we've got to carry on playing. But we've gone into games now blind, effectively, because we're thinking where the goal's going to come from. No, we're Arsenal. We're not going to let you just walk through and score a goal. It's not going to happen. I just remember looking up before he hit it, and he was Grigovic. Yeah, he might have been 40-year-old, but I have to say he was massive. He looked huge in that goal. He just covered the goal, and he just looked massive. And I don't penalty takers, and I never go high. I would never go high usually. It'd always be low. But I just thought something in my head just say go high because you can't get there.
This is the Sheff United Way podcast with In Good Nick and Hal Stewart.
Lads, ladies and gentlemen, we'd now like to welcome the greatest left-back ever to come out of Cornwall, probably. A Bramall Lane favourite from the moment he made his debut, his never-say-die attitude, uncompromising defending and foot-forward flair made him an instant hit. Forever fondly thought of by all those who witnessed his marauding runs up the left flank. He represented Sheffield United, Newcastle and, unfortunately, West Ham. It is, of course, Wayne Quinn. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. I pretty much appreciate it. I'm glad to hear.
Well, I meant absolutely every single word of that. So thank you for being on the Sheff United Way.
No, absolutely.
It's great to have you. And before we get on to the Sheff United stuff, how did you get into football?
It was just again. It was down here again. It was, I think my family all played football locally down here, and I used to go in with my dad and used to watch football. My mum as well. Like, believe it or not, she'd come on the park and have a kick around with me, and it just genuinely started like that. That I just become. I didn't like rugby. Cornwall's renowned for rugby players, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit of a softie, and I didn't like the fact that we had to tackle and make contact in that respect. So I picked up a round ball and just played football. And I didn't have too many friends when I was younger, so I used to bounce a ball for a wall by myself, and it just developed. And I just didn't like rugby. I mean, that was pretty well be and I just didn't like rugby, and so football it was from a really early age.
I've heard this story before because I've been listening to other podcasts with you on. But for those of you that haven't, how did the move to Sheff United come about?
It was. I was a 12-year-old playing for 11-year-old actually playing for Cornwall. I was a young lad playing for Cornwall. I think it was the under-16s. I was Cornwall under-16s. We went away, and because I was so small and because I was a left winger, I think because I was left-footed, and I was a young lad playing 4 years above me, that they say, who's this lad? And it was me, obviously. And that's how it came about that I got noticed at Sheffield, that I had letters. I think it was the following week after 2 Cornwall games. The following week, I had letters from Sheffield United, was one of them, to come for trial. Sheffield United, like Tottenham, Celtic, Oldham, who were back in the first division, Hibernian, believe it or not, Spurs, I think I mentioned. And Sheffield United was the first one I actually chose to say, right, I made arrangements to go to Sheffield United as an 11-year-old, and I went as an 11-year-old. Opened my eyes, like blew me apart. To be fair, I met really nice people who I'm still friends with now, John Dunworth and Keith Mincher. And after 3 days, they said, right, we want to sign you as a schoolboy. And during that year, that group of players, or that 3 or 4 days together, I was the only one who they took back, if that makes sense. So then that's how I got to Sheffield. And then thereafter, because I come up to school at 11, thereafter, every other 2 weeks, I used to get the train. And I think you know this, Nick. I used to get the train by myself every 2 weeks from Penzance to Sheffield.
What was that like, Quinny? Like travelling away from home regularly at such a young age?
Yeah, it wouldn't have. I said, Al, it would never. I said this before. It would never happen now. Like my son's 13, but I wouldn't put him on a train now to Sheffield by himself, just because it's just, I think times have changed and everything's different now. But it was, I was scared. I was excited because I was going, I was one of the Cornishmen down here at the time who's going, a lot of the lads who were my age were going to Plymouth as you would, or to Torquay or to Exeter, and the mums and dads used to drive them on a weekend. But I was different. I was going like 8 hours on a train sort of thing, and it was. The first time I ever did it was I got the train to Penzance, and I did get as far as Campbell, which is down here. It's about 6 miles, I suppose. And I was crying. I don't know. I knew. I remember it now. It was 9:30 Penzance, and it got into Sheffield at 16:04. I remember it now, and I just remember all that together was to find a placard with like Wayne Quinn on it. So if anybody knew I was coming, and they put Wayne Quinn.
That's for sure.
Yeah, well, he was good looking. Well, he's not that good looking, but he's a good looking chap. And no, but, typical foreigner. But Sandy on the other hand, yeah, he's some stories I've got about Sandy. But Sandy's he's one of us. That's not being horrible, but he's one of us. He's a great lad as Sandy, but he likes a beer, he likes a drink, and he's out there being one of the weirdest people I've met in football. But in a nice way, in a nice way,
Yeah, proper good guy. Came to watch Sheffield United at the Millennium Stadium as well when we played Wolves. Yeah, so good bloke. And
good lad.
When did you know you would be part then, after Howard Kendall had gone and Nigel Spackman was manager? You'd be part of the 97-98 first team?
Yeah, so season. And he played a little bit in reserves, but he used to take a lot of training. He used to train in reserves. He used to manage in reserves. He used to play the first team, but he used to manage and he had full on with the reserve sort of thing. And, he's always complimentary of myself. And one, I think I'm left foot, I like to think I've got a decent left foot. So he's always complimentary of that. And, I was playing centre midfield for the reserves. Left foot, good balance, what have you. And he just, he liked me there. But he always used to say to me, he said, I could see you playing on the wing. I could see you, I could see it left back. He always hinted, pushing me to the left sort of thing. And I was like, okay, Spackers, yeah. And he's been one, seen everything. So he had to respect the old. I always respect my elders. And it's when he actually got the job. It was the first training. Sorry, come up for pre-season. He literally just said to me I'm looking at you this season. He bummed me with the first team straight away. He's like, I'm looking at you this season. He says, it could be a big season for you. Get your head down, do well pre-season, and work hard. And I have to say that probably that pre-season with that little bit, the first, second day back, he really G'd me up. I thought, because I thought, oh God, to come back to sit in reserves and to play this and play that. And he really got me. He fired me up. And pre-season, I remember being at the front for pretty much all the running. I was fit, really fit back then. And I just thought somebody called, do you remember Chris Short? Short was ridiculous.
Yeah,
right, fittest bloke. Yeah, right back. Great lad, weirdo, but one of the fittest blokes I've ever seen. He's up there with Gary Speed, who's the other fittest bloke. Chris Short, I was just behind him, and that was it. And then we had the first friendly, which I think they still do now. It might have been, was it Matlock? I can't remember who it was now. And he involved me, and he started me, and I was, oh, right. So it's just, I never thought nothing of it. I thought, yeah, I'm one of the young lads going with Nigel. And I have to say, I've said it before in another podcast, I think what helped me break into the first team is Nigel Spackman was good friends with Glenn Hoddle. I mentioned before, and he loved 3-5-2. He absolutely, we tried to do it in reserves 3-5-2, and me being able to play on the left, being quick at the time. He tried it out in a couple of pre-season friendlies, and it worked. He went out and got, as Paul McGrath, Carl Tyler, players like that, Nicky Marker, Dino come back, Jan come back. I got a break. Then we went to Norway. Pre-season, and again I played every game over there, left wing back, and it freed. I think I mentioned before in the tweet. It freed Dane up. Dane was like, me and Dane become really good friends, or Sid become really good friends, because he hated left back. He liked left wing, but he couldn't see him playing the 3-5-2. So he thought, I'm going to be in for a rubbish season. Well, it did come up to be that, but he moved in. So and it worked brilliantly. Because I said before, me going on the left and Sid coming inside, it worked brilliantly. And that's when I thought I've really got a chance here making the first team. And then again, I told you about Sunderland. It come about that I found out that I was playing the open day of the season, and it was that was something else. That was.
How did you feel in the lead up to that? Because I've watched that game so many times. Yeah, it was such a brilliant game.
Yeah, I've got it on my. I've got that on tape somewhere. Yeah, it was. I was leaning up to it, so it was brilliant. I've said before, it's so good. It's because I didn't know I was playing. We didn't know he was playing. Gaff always said about, Nigel Spackman said about 2 hours before the game, and there was a talk that we did a bit of set pieces the day before, and there's talk that I might have played. I was in there, then it was Wardy, was not in my position, but Dane was on the left, Wardy was back in the centre field. So it kind of worked about. He left you guessing a little bit, and I got a phone call that my gaffer would call me and said, you're going to start tomorrow, so. Do what you got to do, get your head right, eat right, do what you got to do in your headspace, and that's how it came about. And I remember it, and I thought, I forgot, and weird. I knew it was Sunderland, but then you start thinking about it when you're trying to sleep at night, which I didn't sleep. You're trying to think about, you're thinking, shit, it's live on Sky. It's like they've just gone up in the Premier League. I'm playing against these well-established players in my debut at home, first game of the season. The fans ain't going to know who I am. They're not going to know who's this lad on the left. Unless you follow the reserves, which, like, you know, let's be honest, like girls with teenage crushes did. That's all you got. Reserve games back then were like girls, 18-year-old girls, basically. So unless they knew you were or followed you, they didn't have a clue who you were. You know, you got the big signings like with Dino coming back. You know, Carl Macca. You know, Jan, Mark Patterson. You know, I'm not Mark Patterson, sorry. Nicky Marker. You're thinking Vaz on the right. You know, and I'm thinking, gee. And I bear in mind, I've seen Vaz in pre-season, thinking, oh my God.
That was one of the things we were going to ask you, actually. Was Vaz Babokis that good in training as well?
Again, lazy. He's not the laziest.
Wow.
Lazy, but he's not the laziest. No. Lauren, but definitely. But Vaz was lazy in training. He sulked so much. Like if he didn't get the ball, he would sulk. He'd literally just walk off like he's just gone. Like, you know. But genuine in training, he was really good in training. But then he got better in games. He was like, let's say he was a 7 out of 10 in training, but in games he was like a 9 out of 10. He just turned it up just like that, and I just thought, my God, you know, going back to the first game of the season, and I just thought then, you know, and of course we turned up like we do, hour and a half for the game, you know. You had your mascots in there getting autographs off players, sort of thing. I don't think I signed one autograph because they didn't have a clue who I was, and that's what happened, you know. Then I went out, and you know, the rest is history. I remember debut sort of thing, and I did all right. I mean, I was blowing up my ass after 70 minutes, sort of thing. And bearing in mind, I have to say, I was probably one of the fittest men on the team. Without a doubt, I was probably one of the fittest players on the team. And yet, after 70 minutes, my legs, I couldn't breathe. My legs had gone. And I think that's just, I was just overawed with everything, you know. And I just like full house at home. And to get the result we did, who, let's be honest, Sunderland were tipped to win that league early doors. Was a you know, get a goal, and Vaz, you know, still sort of Jan get a goal and get Vaz get his goal like he did. It was surreal to think that, looking back, you know, I was really lucky. I think I was really lucky to have and I'm not trying to knock Stockport, but away to Stockport on a Tuesday night. You know, I made my debut live on Sky at home in front of a full house, you know, with a 2-0 win against a team that were up there with trying to, you know, get promotion that season. So I was really fortunate and really lucky in that respect, you know.
Yeah, it's weird to say nowadays that Sunderland were a big side, because I know they're still a big club, but now they're nowhere near what they were then.
They're massive, and you think about like the Stadium of Light. Was that a couple of years old? I mean, it was effectively back then. It was like it was a new stadium. It was a brand new stadium, and it's a really, you know, a lovely stadium. A really stadium. It was brand new, so they had some big players. You know, Ken Phillips, Niall Quinn. They had some like Perez in goal. They had some big Kevin Bull. Big player, big time players, you know. And but I think on that day, I think anybody watched that game, we battered them. I mean, yeah, we battered them. You know, I think we were in every department, you know, and you know, I think the gaffer got it right, you know, in respect of the 3-5-2 at work. I mean, Sid was ridiculous. Paul McGrath at the back was ridiculous. It just everybody about that team, that game and that season was really, really good.
We're talking
and
about
I did have a few beers after as well.
Yeah, well, you probably deserved them.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Who came on for you, by the way, in that game?
Oh, God.
Sorry. It's not mastermind, I promise.
Once I went off, I turned it off when I went off. No, I'm joking. But, no, I did. I'd be lying if I said I knew. It might have been Wardy, actually, and I mentioned before. No, I couldn't. It might have been Roger. Yeah. Actually, it might have been Roger.
Would have made sense if it was Roger, even though I think Roger didn't like the left wing back. He preferred centre back then. I think it was Roger. If I may be lying, but it probably, yeah. But I would be surprised if it was Roger. Yeah, I think, yeah. And I have to say, Roger, going back to what I said earlier, when I obviously the team was named, I knew I was playing. He was the first person. I have to say, Roger was the first person to come up to me and say, like, good luck, you know, go smash, you'd be brilliant. He was the first one. Brilliant.
Who, in my position, yeah, he was. You know, don't get all the other players were brilliant with me, but he was up there with the first. Yeah, definitely the first one. Yeah.
Talking about some of your teammates, we've talked about Vaz already in training. Can I ask about Jan Arga? How good was he in training? Again,
he was phenomenal. He trained really well, but anything outside the 18-yard box, you know, Jan was hold the ball up. Jan was really good, but anything we used to like shooting, like we do shooting drills, and that's when you saw the better Jan. You know, Jan and Dino, the shooting drills. You know, the crossing and the finishing, or like the pass in the outside 18-yard box in the first touch. That's when you saw Jan and Dino and Vaz coming to, even like Dane, be fair, he used to do the shooting, that he'd come into play, and you thought, shit up. You understand why they were like, the international with Nordin, and he scored so many goals as he's done, because it wasn't just a case of tap-ins. Jan could score any goal.
We saw.
Yeah.
Quinny, was there anyone who didn't really get the credit they deserved, and when you saw them in training, you were like, wow, he's really technically very gifted?
I'll leave you with that. I'll come back to that, because I'm thinking about it. I'm just thinking now, Fordy. Bobby Ford.
Wow.
Bobby Ford, technically, you speak to a lot of people, Fordy technically was brilliant. Technically, don't get me wrong, I think Fordy was really good for United. I thought Fordy's a really good player. Did get the ball away, worked his out 100%. But Fordy, technically, we do the circle, or we do, not even keep ups, you never do keep ups. We do a circle, shooting or free kicks. He's bang up there. Fordy's bang up there.
We all dream of a team of Bobby Fords, and he's gone off grid. Are you still in touch with Bobby Ford?
No.
I don't think anyone is.
No, I won't. Hold on, the mum's gone. Fordy's, I know he's in Bristol. The last time I spoke to Fordy, I was in a pub. Not because I was doing it, but I was in a pub on a lunch, and a friend of his who I met through Fordy in Bristol was on holiday down there, and he was I was up for a pub lunch, and he come down, and he just like, Wayne Quinn. I went, yeah. He says, oh, I'm Bobby Ford's mate. I went to his wedding. So I went to Fordy's wedding. I went, oh right. He says, oh my God, you've got to speak to him. And he rang him, and I spoke to Fordy, and I'm talking 2004. That's how long ago. So that's why I spoke to Fordy. But he was in Bristol living. I don't know what he was doing, but Fordy loved it. Fordy was a secret drinker. Fordy loved to drink. Yeah, no, he was a secret. I'd be out in Lead Mill and all that crap, but he was a secret drinker. He would do it in his house, But he's a great lad. But technically, without doubt, he was up there as a very, very, very good player.
Wow, I'm glad I asked.
It reminds me about the nights out in Sheffield, because I want to ask you about that later. But just before we go, we move on. You and Vaz kind of had license to get forward and get balls in the box and create chances and stuff. Is that what Nigel Spackman used to say to you? Did you have did your back three let you do that, or did you and Vaz kind of take turns?
Yeah, well, we never spoke to Vaz, because Vaz didn't speak much English. So he kind of did what he wanted. It was one of those. I don't want to say that it was all down to me, but or the back three, or Dane or Nicky Marker, but it was a kind of an unsung, or it's a silent, let's let Vaz do what he wants because he can. And as a group of 3-4 across the midfield and at the back, we'll deal with what he does. And so I was kind of, I think I said before, Vaz kind of did what he wants. When he bombed on, he didn't, the old rule, if one wing back goes back, then the other kind of sits. It's one of those sort of, one sits. But Vaz went. He did. If I was up, if I was in the box, he was going anyway. So no matter what happened, he was going anyway. So Nicky Marco for our team was really good, because Paddy used to go, Dane used to go. I kind of half went thinking, well, Vaz is up there, I best hold back a bit. So Nicky Marco in that season was brilliant, because Nicky Marco used to just do that. He never got forward. He just went side to side. So he was brilliant for us, Nicky Marco, in that respect. But nobody told Vaz not to go, and nobody told Vaz to go. I think he just kind of had a world of his own. He thought, right, I could put a crosser, and he was unbelievable crosser with the boys. So I can cross the ball, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to go. But but Nicky Marco takes a lot of credit, as does, and even Dane, to be fair, because Dane used to say to me all the time, look, if you go, again, as a triangles, I think that season, I have to say, I look back and I think me and Dane, I've mentioned before, we really and Cole Tyler, to be fair, we really complement each other, because if I went, Dane would cover mine was the inside left, the outside left, or the outside left to the inside left. Once it's done all his life, so we kind of complement each other really well, because Dane played a little while, left back, but he had Roger behind him. Nothing against Roger, but Roger was a steady, steady left back. You just sit and just, here you go, Dane, do what you got to do. Whereas I think with me playing a wing back, I allowed Dane to just venture forward to the left, to the right, do what you want to do, knowing that he's got the license of me just sitting there and pivoting with him. So
incredible to think Nicky Marco actually won Player of the Year as well that season.
Yeah, but he was probably, because he was really good.
He was great, really underrated, I think, by a lot of people.
Yeah, he won the league. He won the league with Blackburn, and he lives in Plymouth now. Again, I saw Mark's about 5 years ago. He managed a team called Ivy Bridge in Plymouth, and I was managing a team down here. And we met, we had a beer together, and then I got his number. And then I was in Plymouth watching a show, I think about 4 years ago, and we met up again for a couple of beers just to catch up, really. And Sheffield Oaks talked about. So it was really good. Yeah, it was underrated for what he did, but as teammates, we really appreciated what Nicky did.
So moving on very slightly, Brian Deane and Jan-Åge Fjørtoft both got sold. Was it in the same week? I think it was in the same week.
Yeah, same week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Were there any sort of fallout? Because I know there was a lot of fallout in the fans. We were thinking we've thrown away this league.
I just think we were. Again, I don't want to say pissing it, but we were stomping the league. We were there and thereabouts. We had a good team. We had a really good squad, strong squad, and likes of Hutch, Wardy, people like that. Hutch is like he struggled to get in the team a little bit. Hutch, to be fair, so we had a really good side. We had a really good sub, really good bench, and I think it was more disbelief that you maybe accept one striker being sold, maybe, but two strikers. I think that's just I don't see where the club are going with that, and I don't, I think it's Giles Green at the time. I don't see where the club are going, and as players, it kind of knocks you back a bit because you're going training sort of thing, and you're playing with these players you see them week in, week out, and training. You think, wow, players. So you turn up on a Saturday, these players that you've got used to playing with like for 4 or 5 months. You're thinking you kind of know the team's ticking, and you're playing well. You kind of know each other now, what you do, what you don't do, what runs they like, what balls they like, they don't like, but when you get two of your centre forwards who scored the majority of your goals, you're thinking, what really? Where they got? So it's hard to. So I think for 2 or 3 weeks, the players kind of like were just in disbelief to think that yes, the show's got to go on, yes, we've got to carry on playing, but we've gone into games now blind effectively because we're thinking where the goal's going to come from. I know we went and got Dino and Dean Swan's on about. I know we went and got people like that, but we're talking about two of, if not. Well, without doubt, at that time, you talk about two probably the best strikers in the first division, championship, should I say, and they both went on the same day. And if one had gone, maybe we'd been all right. One had gone, it'd be okay. But for two strikers to go, and they're strikers. Strikers are like a rare breed. They're like Jan scores goals for fun. He was a natural goal scorer, and Dina was just an unbelievable player who caused mayhem in and around the box. Outside the box, he took 2 defenders every game he played. He took 2 defenders, so it was hard to negotiate those 2, 3, 4 weeks after that because like I said they're just massive players for us. They got us the goals.
Yeah.
Well, you'd think that we wouldn't have done that again, but we did with James Beattie quite a few years later when we thought it was the exact same thing. We expected that we were going to get promoted because we were that good, and they didn't learn the lesson that time.
I know football clubs have to as a business. I get, I get all that. I get the politics. I do, but it's you have to put. I think it's something I've mentioned before. You have to put things in a little bit of perspective. For what they got for Dino, for Jan, really, they couldn't have waited 5 months. I mean, wait till the end of the season, get a little bit cheaper, or bugger it should come $100,000. I say it sounded like it's easy money, but what I'm saying is, I mean. Look where we are. If we was bottom of the league and we're struggling, fair enough. You could say, look, yeah, okay. Look, but we weren't. We were competing on every level, fighting in every competition we were fighting for, with a chance of. And let's be honest, I said before, in that team, that squad, I think we would have won it. I do. I watch the Sunderland Charlton game. I don't see the playoff. I don't think we would have got.
Not only that, Quinny, I agree with you. We'd have got more money getting into the Premier League than we got for both of them.
Yeah, so it doesn't make. So I get the politics, but it doesn't make sense. If you're mid-table, fair enough, make some money. But I just don't, And if we'd got up, then imagine the windfall from winning the league, going into the Premier League. Yeah. It's just bad politics.
I can tell you, every blade has just agreed with everything you've just said.
Yeah, it's true though. It's bad. I'm not clever enough to think that it's. I'm talking, but I'm saying it's just as a player looking in, as a fan looking in, that's got to be the stupidest thing to do. It's just bad politics.
And the fact that we all still talk about it all these years on just shows how terrible it was.
Yeah. I got friends. I go out to Sheffield. They still talk about it. They couldn't. I said laugh. They said they should have sold you. I was like, yeah, they should have. But it's true because he's had a better chance. But no, it's just stupid. It's a shame that we're talking about it for the wrong reasons. When if they had stayed, I think that season could have been yes, we got semi-final. Yes, we lost to Sunderland in the playoff, but it could have been a whole lot different that season. It could have been a whole lot different. And it's just a shame that taking those two players away from us, it hurt us. The goals win games. That's common knowledge. Goals win games, and that's what it is.
It wasn't just those two, was it? Then Nigel Spackman left.
Yeah, and that was but then.
Was that for the same reason? Was it? Do you think it was because of that?
Well, yeah, because then what I've mentioned before, Nick. But what champ? He's been basically his legs been taken underneath him. He's gone in one morning and said, like, no, they're not going to be sold. And one morning, so he left for work one day, said they're not going to be sold. And he hears it on the news, and come the next day, two of his top strikers have left. So what else? You got to ask the question: what else is going on, or was going on behind the scenes for that to happen? And then for Nigel Spackman to say, well, look, you promised me one thing, you did the absolute opposite, so I can't trust you. Thank you, bye-bye, I'm off. So
you can't really blame Spackers because his team was gutted, wasn't it? It was like Hutchinson, Carl Tyler, Mitch Ward. Yeah. Of course, these two strikers we're talking about.
Yeah, it's just Wardy left Everton and Hutch for Everton. So he's 5 players gone effectively. But let's be honest, Wardy, really good player. Hutch, really good player. Like 2 strikers, like I said, goals. So it's just when you're getting told no players being sold to then within 12 hours, 5 players effectively nearly 2 are definitely gone. He's gonna do that. I don't blame him at all. I think he's done the right. It's like any job you do. If you get told one thing, you're gonna go. You're gonna walk. Save face. And I think he left to save face, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, we're talking about Nigel Spackman. How did Nigel Spackman compare? Because he was your first team manager when you broke to Sheffield United. How did he compare with the managers that followed in your career?
Gaff was good. Nigel's really nice. I said nice, cool, every Gaffer, but Nigel Spackman was really good. He was good. His man management. He's polite. He spoke really well. I don't think I ever shout. He would always. I got to Neil Ward, but he would shout. But Nigel never did that. He would articulate where was wrong, how you could beat a team through articulation. And if you weren't playing well at half time, he would never rant and rave. He would, very often I heard him swear. He would just explain, look, you can do better. He'd be real nice and polite about it. You can do better. You've got more from you. Just need to up the game a little bit, throughout the team, and he was really good at that. His man management was really good. And he was like the old school. He was the old school, but trying to the modern way of football in respect of not just the wing backs, but like eating the right stuff and drinking the right stuff. We had I remember going to see with my niece actually. I remember going to see Eileen Drury. Do you remember Eileen Drury?
Well, you mentioned he's friends with Glenn Hoddle. Sounds like he's taken quite a lot from Glenn Hoddle.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew this, but Nigel's got a poorly. I think it's a poorly boy. I think it is. And his boy used to go quite often, and I used to problem with my knees, like sort of thing. I can never get why I struggle with my knees until a bit later. And he said, "Well, look, true story." He was like, when I got injured that season, he took me to London to see Eileen Drury. On no word of a lie, Nigel Spackman. I saw me, him, and his son were in the car from Sheffield down to London to see Eileen Drury in her house, and she got on my knee, sort of thing, and said, "No, you've got a good 3 or 4 years of your mental thing and all that." Anyway. So I went to see her, and that was before it all came in the papers about the England players being made to go and see her. But as I was coming out, Glenn Hoddle was coming in. It's weird how you look at it. But
was she wrong, Quinny? Now you look back on it.
No, because do you know something? No, because I played that season because I got told I wasn't going to play that season when I got injured that 97-98 when I missed the couple of months through an operation on my knee. I got told I wasn't going to play for the rest of the season. But I come back in, it was late February, the Ipswich game. I think it was late February. I come back. So she wasn't. So she did say, "No, you're all right. You will come back." And she literally just touched my knee. You'll be all right.
Wow.
You'll heal well. She didn't say for the next 6 years, but she went, "You'll come back. You'll heal well, and you'll be okay for the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years." And so, that's what she said. And as was, so I come back with a new spring in my step, and I don't think I ended up kicking the ball the next. I can't remember what happened, and that was it. So through that, I met her, and I know the Up-More, the England thing. But no, I've got nothing bad to say about her. Whether it all works or not, I don't know. But for me, I have to say it worked for me. Yeah. But that's going back to Nigel Spackman, and obviously Nigel Spackman left, and I think Adrian Heath come in, didn't he? Was Adrian Healy come in? I can't remember. No, Steve Bruce come in. Steve Bruce come in, didn't he?
I thought was it Steve? I thought it was Steve Thompson, to be honest.
Yeah,
sorry,
it was.
Season. Sorry, no, Nigel. Sorry, yeah. So Nigel Spatman. So I went to the next season. But Nigel Spatman, no. So then Ross took over for. I think Ross took over, who's like youth at the time. He took over for a game, and then I think
Russell Slade.
Yeah, Russell Slade. And again, I've said before, he was just. I felt sorry for Tomo because he was just dealt that hand. He was dealt the players. Players weren't happy that 2 or 5 players had left. He had to kind of somehow. We're still in every competition, so he had to somehow try to G us up to keep going, to do what we had to do. And I have to say, to his credit, he got the best out of what was a really wounded squad or team. And I think he got he did a brilliant job. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, Tomo, for what he did, because he took a team that was doing really well, who still finished in the playoffs and got the semi-final. Like I said to you, the Coventry game was probably the highlight of his career, his little manager career, and he done really well. But he was dealt a bad hand. But you'd never known it because he was always positive, really positive. You'd never know. He was always positive. But you've gone from Nigel, who's articulate, to speaking to you, to Tomo, who was full on fucking nice. But then when he lost it, he lost the plot. Like he would lose it. Yeah, so it went a little bit, to the foreigners are like, what the f*** is going on here, sort of thing. So it was weird in respect, but it worked because he, like I said to you, it worked because it had to be that way, because he had to somehow G everybody up and to get us going again. And like I said to you, I think the hand that he was dealt, he done extremely well for what he had. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've just mentioned it there, Coventry. That was my first ever giant killing experience. Yeah. And you and David Holdsworth were the heroes.
Well, I don't know about that. I think Alan Kelly was a hero personally, but
oh god, yeah, completely.
Yeah, no. See, it was funny. Obviously, it's funny because we should have won the game. Highfield Road. We should have won the game at Highfield Road, 1-0.
And for the people that are younger watching this, by the way, because Coventry aren't a great side now. Coventry were under Gordon Strachan, were riding high. They were on a great record. They were actually on an unbeaten record in the Premier League. And little old Sheffield United, as you quite rightly say, Quinny, should have beaten them in the first game.
We did. They had a couple of chances. We rode the storm a little bit, but after about 20, half an hour, I thought we were the better side. And I remember. I still. It's funny. The home game, when we won on the penalties was obviously one of the highlights of my career. And it's probably the biggest game through how nervous I was at the end. But the Highfield Road was like. I remember now we had the away end on the side of the pitch was full. So usually, again, Highfield Road. I think we've both been there, but it was like. The away end behind the goal was always behind the goal was one end was always the away end, but Highfield Road wasn't. It was the away fans were on the side of the pitch. So I was more nervous, believe it or not, for that game because I thought, oh my God, we're playing the Premiership side. And the second half, because I was obviously left-footed, I was on the left-hand side. All the away fans were right, literally in earshot of me because Highfield Road was quite on top of you, intimidating. So they were all in earshot of me. Quinny, you want? I heard it all. But
as if.
Yeah, but if I did a silly pass or I took whatever. But you need certain people. That's fine. But I was more nervous for that game as it goes. And I remember it was at the end. Was it Peter? Peter at the end. Stupid. How. I don't know for the life of me how Steve Igrizovic managed to get back to catch Peter Couture at the end. I don't know how that happened, but he did.
Because Steve Igrizovic was about 40 years old.
Yeah, and how he got back.
And he looked about 70 years old as well.
Yeah, he got Peter Couture. I don't know how that happened, but he did. But anyway, went to Bramall Lane, as you know, and that was. I mean, as games go, that was up there with. If it's one of my favourite games, considering it was. I remember it now. Tuesday night, March 17th, raining. It was zippy as you like. The pitch wasn't great, and they took an early lead from a bobble. And true story, I don't know if you know that or not, but I didn't even watch the video. But you see the ball bounce in front of Ned. You see the ball bounce over Ned, and because that morning they had relayed. Ned had said they had relayed the 6-yard box. No word of a lie. Yeah, so so the 6-yard box got relayed, and the pit they relayed, the ball hit it and popped over his head. So he was fuming. He was.
That was Paul Telfer who scored for Coventry.
Yeah, Paul Telfer. Yeah, and 10 times out of 10, Alan Kelly saves that shot. Yeah. It does, but it hit a bobble and it popped over, And but like I said to you in that game, and and at half time, Tom would come in and said we're in this game, sort of thing, and rant and raved a little bit. I think more so just to cheer us up, and we went out and I think we could have scored 2 or 3 more goals. We never, and I think we left it well. I mean, an unbelievable finish, by the way, from Reg. I mean,
no, we left it the perfect amount of time to have one of the greatest games that we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, even now, it's funny because I still look at it now and again when people talk about it, and put it on Twitter a couple of times, and I watch a goal now at Reg scores, and I'm thinking because between me and you, David Oldsworth is quite stiff. Where he walks, where he runs, everything about him is stiff. He's just stiff.
Yeah, so his back's quite straight when he runs.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
yeah, so how he got his body in the position he did to score that goal, I mean, was a great finish. And was it Roger who headed the ball back? I think it was Roger who headed the ball back. I'm not sure. I think it might be. It was. I think it was Roger who headed the ball back for him to a great header back. People say about Reg, but what you forget is the header, like 40 with the corner and Reg popping the ball back. It was a great header. Roger popping the ball back, but and then 1-1. Extra time, and I have to say again, we were by far the better team in extra time. We had Gareth Taylor had a chance, Fordy had a chance, Marcello had a great chance, Gareth Taylor had a great chance, should I say? But then it obviously went to penalties, and the rest is, I think we would have went to penalties. But Alan Kelly, without he was 3 penalties. I mean, the first, I think what knocked their socks off Coventry's was Dion Dublin Luke missing. Absolutely, when he missed. I thought their player, because it was on the side, was on the halfway line. I wasn't watching, but there's a little bit. He missed.
He never missed, did he?
Exactly.
And he scored in the first game as well, didn't he? From the penalty spot.
When the host of Homes Under the Hammer misses, you know you're in trouble.
I hate that show, but no. When he missed, there was it was it just the crowd went. I just remember that. I remember obviously when I scored the penalty, I remember the roar, but. When he missed, I have to say, like the silence we got back, the roar from like the blades, where the ground was bigger than I've heard for a while, because I think we all expected, oh no, not him, he's going to score. But then when Ned saved it, I mean, and it was a great save. No, let's get it right. It was a great save. So when he saved it, I think that kind of like give us that little bit of we could do this, and that's again, I didn't know I was taking the 5th penalty. To be honest with you, I got told I was taking. I didn't know I was taking a penalty until he said you're taking it.
Were you a penalty practicer?
No. It was a shock when it comes to the penalties, because it wasn't a case of usually you get. I've been in penalty circles. You get asked like who wants penalty 1, 2, who wants them, and it wasn't even about who wants them. Tommy was coming around at the time. The gaff coming around. Times like 1, 2, 3, 4. And 5. I have to be honest with you, a few people, I'm not naming names, but a few players, as he was pointing, kind of just went the opposite way and like went down. And I was young, dumb.
How old were you at this point, Quinner?
20, wasn't I? 21, 27,
wow.
21. No, 20. I was 20. Sorry, 20. So
that is some bottle to step up and take a penalty.
But I have to say, Nick, it wasn't. But would I put my hand up? Probably.
Did you know that because you were the 5th penalty?
No, again, because that's probably the first penalty I've ever been in. So no, I didn't think it. So my emotions were the fact that it wasn't. It's a good question actually, because again, I didn't know. Would I put my hand up for a penalty? Probably. I don't know. I'll probably be lying if I said if only 4 people put their hands up, I probably would have gone, okay, I'll have one. But it got to that where it was a case of you're taking one, and it was the way he pointed, Tom, and that's how it came about. And again, when Dion took it, I was, I think you were at the podcast, Nick. A lot of people, it was Dean like at Castle. I can't remember. I was looking around, shitting myself really, and looking around nervous. Didn't have time to think. Could see what was happening. And Dean Saunders come over to me, and literally, I was on the floor like with my legs up in the air. Where are you putting it? I was like, what? He's penalty. Where are you putting your penalty? And I was like, I felt under pressure. I'm going to go across my body, left foot, go across the body, keeper's left. And he says, if you change your, I'm not going to swear, but if you change your fucking mind, I'm going to come and find you. Graham Stewart was over him, like, it's like the second, have you ever seen Paddy and Murphy, like the bouncers? It was like that. Yeah. I was like, giving it like good cop, bad cop. And he was like, yeah, yes, Graham was. And that's what, and for those, so the penalties were quite a blur to me, because all I could think about was Dino and Graham just, don't change your mind. So in my head, I was thinking, don't change your mind. And that's how it came about. And then obviously, then we're through. And, I just got up walked to the bar, and as I was walking, I've got a great picture upstairs on my wall of me taking a penalty. Yeah, brilliant picture, and you can see them all there, and Dino in his suit, and the players were like, go on, Quinny, and it's like Dino I remember Dino's voice saying, don't you fucking change your mind, as I was walking up to crapping myself now. I didn't look at anything other than, I just remember looking up before he hit it, and he can't get there. I know weird when I say he can go low and stretch, but he just can't go high and up there, and I just thought go high. I didn't need to go as high as I did to look pretty good, but I just thought that was it. I was off. I was gone. As soon as I scored, I was gone. I didn't know what to do, to be fair.
You didn't plan that celebration as well.
Everybody I speak to say about that, actually, but no. But I have to say, I was up there one of the best nights, without doubt, of my life. And I remember Gordy was the first one to come over, and when I was my shirt off down by the cop end there, and I come in, walked in the change room. Gaffer gave me the biggest hug in the world, and I saw Gunnarsson as I come off the pitch, and I've gone in the change rooms, and Dino was at the door with Graham Stewart, and they were there. To be fair, they both, like, honestly, they got both bear of them, grabbed me, like, give me a bear hug, and went, I fucking knew you could do it. And it was just little things like that you remember. Little things like that I remember, like just a little hug here or a little pat on the back there. And that was Graham Stewart, like, saying well done and giving you a pat on the back, and it kind of makes it all worthwhile. So obviously, I was the youngest player in the team. I was on the lowest wage. I played most games. I can't remember what I was on appearance. But the next day, and it happened to be planned, I don't know how, under 21s, England B, and my agent was on the phone saying to, do you remember Andy Frank Walker was my agent at the time? Not such a nice guy as well. I went to Glasgow loads of times to see him, and such a nice guy. And he was at the game, and he was like, after the game, he gave me a big hug. Me, him, obviously all the players, got absolutely smashed. So about 5 o'clock in the morning, had a party back at mine, but I was in the next day for contract talks to leg at our place, and Frank was going to me like, you got to see the chairman tomorrow. You can't get too drunk because you got contract. I was like, I've just scored. I'm getting drunk. As it was, we were butting, and I didn't go in negotiate the contracts. I only went into and it made it all worthwhile, because he's gone in there and he's gone guns blazing. Well, he's played for England. He's just he's just scored a penalty in the FA Cup last night. All these 30,000 fans here. They'd be disappointed if he left. Quinny left here. Now he's top one of the highest paid players at the club. He's gone in with everything, and he's got a good contract. I've gone from £400 a week to, I ain't gonna tell you what. I've gone from
whoa, we gave him a Walkman.
Yeah. That's it. But I wanted a Discman, but no. But
do you think after that game?
No,
not a lot less, but do you think that definitely boosted it up?
I was young. I was left-footed. I was around the England. I know it was England B, England 21s, but I also got called up for the England first team squad at the end of the season. So my name was getting touted being a left-footed player, and a few clubs were coming in for me. It's common knowledge that Newcastle wanted me. And I think he's also gone, not just because I scored the penalty, but at that time I'd already played for England. I think he said as well that, I was a left-footed, as a young English left-sided player. So it's, they've got loads of, what I'm trying to say is I've gone from £400 a week, which is nothing, playing, bearing in mind I played over like 30 games in the Championship, about all the first division back then, which I was probably the lowest played in the league, if that makes sense, playing in that time. But it's just one of those that that was a lot back then for me, and so I celebrated. So it was a good week for me that week, as it goes. It was a pretty good week for me that week, yeah. So, it was pretty good.
So, like kind of best mates with and stuff?
Well, so definitely Dane White. Again, Curtis was, because I got injured, Curtis came in for me, basically. So me and Curtis, quick story, Curtis was my apprentice. When I was a pro, he was my apprentice. I think he's the only apprentice who's ever been sacked for being an apprentice. So he had two pros. I was one of them. He had to get my kit out in the morning. He'd have to get so when I turned up, my kits had to get changed. He'd clean my boots, bring my boots to me. He had to do everything. My boots were filthy. They were soaking wet from the day before. It was the worst. I said, "You're crap." But he was rubbish. True. I got rid of him, and I tell you, was my boot boy, Monty, who you were speaking to last night. My kit was bang on. My boots were dry. I had the best boots, without a doubt.
I think there's one word I would use to describe Monty after you've had a chance to meet him and hear all these stories about him. Sensible.
Without a doubt, he's never been told off. So he did that. So he was my boot boy with a lad called Mark Cam. He was my boot boy, and he was
Mark
brilliant.
Cam, of course, who went on to have a professional career and played for Lincoln.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Cam was brilliant. Again, he was sensible as well. So they did all that, and I give him £100 Christmas tip. He never mentioned that either, did he? So
the big spender.
So I sacked Curtis off straight away, but Curtis was he didn't give a shit. He's a ballsy he was so ballsy back then, like confident. It was funny, like, but I got on really well with Curtis. Dane was really well with Sid. I think again because I was left-footed and he was injured at the time, but he was around the team. He was with lad. Mozzo was coming through the team as well. Lee Morris. So we had a lot of the olders, but a lot of the youngsters who was with us, like, you know. And we had some like lone players, you know. John O'Connor was a nice.
Very, very bad.
Yeah,
well, there was a lot of hype around John O'Connor because I got him from Everton.
Yeah, no, but again, the nicest lad. But I think he's that maths teacher. He was too sensible to be a footballer. He's too sensible, sort of thing, you know. But there's some players like that who were coming through on loan, sort of thing. Andy Campbell, all the time, he's a great lad, Andy Campbell. But as for like, you know, good mates, those 5 youngsters were a good fit. But
that didn't ruin your relationship with Curtis, binning him off.
He didn't give a shit. And the best of it is, I think I sacked him off after about a month, August, in October. And like, this how ballsy he is. He come to me in Christmas. He went, "Can I have my money for being an apprentice?"
Wow.
He probably did, but I sacked him off. He wouldn't be my apprentice, so I sacked him off. But no, he probably knocked and nobody wanted him. So I think
that's what I was thinking.
Sort of thing, and through the football, you know, like through the football, Curtis, I say, he's a really good lad.
Obviously, Steve Bruce came in after that. Can you tell us about the Arsenal game? Brucey take him off. Did you play in the first game? Because I can't.
I see on my WhatsApp group. You're not here, but my WhatsApp group is the picture of the Loomis green kit. Yeah, I played in both. I played in both matches. It was a brilliant picture. I'll send it to you later, Nick. It's a brilliant picture of us surrounding the referee and Overmars and Canu there. We played in that match, and how it was only 1-0. I have to say, how it was only 1-0. 70, I can't remember the minute they scored, 60 or 70th minute, wherever it was. How it was only 1-0, I'll never know. They battered us anyway, and it was 1-0. And I put ball out. I think it was Sandy. Somebody went down. I can't remember who went down. Mozza went down, I think, and somebody kicked the ball out. Threw it to Overmars, and Overmars crossed it for Canoe, and he scored. And the uproar after that, it's the aftermath. It was carnage. I've never seen anything like it. It was carnage on the sidelines. Steve Bull going off. In the meantime, on the pitch, the players are going mental to the referee. The Arsenal players Sheffield United players are going mad. Curtis and like Reg are going mad at the Arsenal players, and you cheating on the floor, you cheating, all this anyway. They're just all kicking off, and honestly, I like coming on the pitch, grabbing the players and get off. No, off you get. And it was David Olsworth who said, "Look, Gaff, you can't do that. You cannot do it. You've got to keep them on. If we can walk off and get fine." Reg was a sensible one, but we were all. But he was adamant. Honestly, he was adamant. Steve Bruce was adamant that. And after him, and had to and like calm them down. So you've got to come out. You've got to be the face of Sheffield United. You got to be seen, like, you know. And but no, it was being, because we didn't know what to do as players. Like, well, what do you do? Like, what do you do? So we kind of, you know, I was talking to Ray Parlour, and I said, you know, I don't know. I didn't know him. I was like, you know what? You got to give us a ball. Got to let us walk through and score a goal. We can't do that. And at the time, it was Vieira. And no, we're Arsenal. We're not going to let you just walk through and score a goal. Not going to happen. You know, and that's what happened. So. Players weren't up for it. They were adamant. Like,
they should have been.
The game went ahead again, and I think a lot of us just felt sorry for ourselves and like saying, "I can't." And the game fizzled out. I don't think they tried, and I don't think we tried. And the game.
You're right there. The second game was nowhere near as intense as the first one.
No, you know, Arsene Wenger says, "Yeah, we'll play you again, and you know, give us a rematch." It was, well, you know, we should come back to the lane with a full house. That's the only thing I thought that was a little bit unfair as right thing, and let's have the rematch, but let's have the rematch back at our place, because we've come to you. Because what we did, we played on the Saturday. We went back to Sheffield. Back then we never flew anywhere, but we went back to Sheffield on the Saturday night. That was a little unfair, because back then they flew everywhere, so they could have flew, but you know, we couldn't afford a plane at that time. But
all of them apart from Dennis Bergkamp flew everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the only thing that was, I think, unfair. I mean, regarding that game, could have come to our place and give us a bit of money, and you know, in that respect, you know.
Mm.
Well, that was a really, really bad night for our family as well, because we all went to the game, and my sister had a bag nicked from a seat, so she had a bag on the edge of a seat. We even looked at the CCTV at McDonald's, and somebody walked in, went like that, and let's just blame Arsenal.
So
typical Arsenal.
Shall we just have 5 minutes of bad mouthing London and then move on? I'm sure we're all in agreement.
Yeah, that's it. No, but then I'm glad I got to play on Highbury twice, because that by far is the best grass turf pitch I've ever played on. Like, it was it was, I know a lot of people say it, but without doubt, it's like people under the pitch just poking grass up. It just
yeah. Look at some of the highlights from back in the day, and halfway through the season, it's just brown.
Well, it is. It's down. It's on the. It's always next to, always in front of the dugout. Just because it's always because the sun got there, so the grass is always greener. But I remember now, I know it's changed now, but back when I was playing a little bit, it was
Shall we ask about your favourite manager as a Blade?
As a Blade, yeah. I'm gonna go. Definitely not. Obviously, Nigel, he's articulate and he's really, really good for me. Like, not the Island Jury stuff, but just in general. I think because I was a young lad coming through, he had a lot of time for me. He always asked how I was doing, often doing the right things, and I used to lie to him all the time. But
I'm not drinking, Gaffer.
The dog there, sorry, it's French bulldog. Yeah. So I used to do that. But no, it's good. But obviously Harry again for giving him a professional debut, brilliant season for us. I'm going to throw Tom up there. Just because of, I think, what he got dealt with, I just think he's. I think I've been fortunate as managers. We didn't touch on Neil Warnock. If he didn't like you, you'd know about it. It's one of them with the gaff. I know we ain't touched him, but definitely Nigel Spatman. But I've got a lot of time for Neil Warnock as well.
Did you have how long did you have with Neil Warnock?
9 season. And when he come in for Adrian, he says last 4 months.
203, that shirt.
Yeah, that's 1,000. Yeah, 99, 2000, I think it was. Yeah, so, and also I was Cornish, so I wasn't one of his favourites, but I was Cornish, so he kind of liked me because we used to share car trips sometimes. He lives in Launceston, not far from me, so.
So all the way from Sheffield to
certain games. Those certain games, certain away games. So if we went to, if we were playing in London, sort of thing, Quinny, got 3 days off. I told him my car. Or he'd say, if we win, then you can have 3 days off because only because he's doing the same thing going to Cornwall. And he would say, because I'm quite he would drive I'd get somebody to drive my car. Or I'd get kit man. I'd get Al Glees to drive my car. He'd drive my car from Sheffield to QPR. And then after the game, I've got my car to go straight. As we will go somewhere, he'll get a phone call of his wife. He says, "You got to come home." It could be, I don't know, Fulham, say. And he says, "Quinny, I'm going to give you all 3 days off because we've won. I won't have had him. I'd get the train back to Sheffield, So he looked after me in that respect, get me back to Cornwall if I wanted to come back, It's good.
Quinny, I mean, I know the answer that I think we all wanted, but is there a part of you that ever wishes your whole career history just said Sheffield United? Sheffield?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. Because I played my best football at Sheffield United. What I should have done is what I originally was going to do. When Bobby Robson come calling to Neil Warnock, I know he liked him as a manager, he respected Bobby Robson. And when he said, "Look, have you got anybody who can do a job?" And he knew that Kurtz could have played left back if needed be. Roger was still, Sandy was there. So I think he thought, I'm covered here with 3 players. Go away for a month, enjoy it, son. And I'll see you in a month's time. And that was how it was. I played the 4 games. I said the commentary. I played all 4 Premier League games. Really enjoyed it. Settled in well. And then they said, "Well, look," and they said, "Look, I could have come back. I just thought it's too," and I was playing for Newcastle at the time, and it's too big a club, and with Bobby Robson, the players they had, not to warrant more than I was getting at Sheffield, but nothing that was if Sheffield had offered me that to stay, I would have gone, or half of what I would have gone, yeah, absolutely. Or met in between, I would have stayed at Sheffield United. Shay Given, Kieran, Bella's coming in a bit later on. I played that season, and I've said it before on a podcast. And then what it is, Bob Robson's come in and he got a bit of money, and they upped. I've said before, I wasn't good enough, consistently good enough for the Premier League at that level, And so I kind of I filtered out. I filtered out for the 3-4 months that I had there playing with the first team, around the first team. I never played first team, but just the experience and the back to United. I'd love to have done that. Absolutely,
because you were so adored by the Bramall Lane faithful.
I know.
It was sad when you left.
Yeah, I have to say, it was like I moved when I was 12, 13. I was at 12, so I left. I had like a good 11 years in Sheffield. I made some brilliant friends in Sheffield. Still friends now. Come to my wedding. I loved my time in Sheffield. It was definitely my second home. And in fact, I have to say that when I was living there, I classed it as my home. Opportunities to go to Cornwall with the gaff in Sheffield. Even during the off season, in the 2 months downtime or the 6 weeks holidays and stuff like New York and that. But I never very rare I come home. I maybe come home for a week, and because it's so quiet down here, and that's not my way of life. It was just, I wasn't bored, but I was bored. It wasn't. It wasn't my life. It wasn't part of my life then. You know, my life was like in the city or around people. You know, clubs, and it would have definitely. I'd come back after 4 months and really kick on with football, but you know, it never happened. And I started getting, you know, niggly injuries. My knees started playing up, and it just my career kind of took a downward. Because I didn't play often, I think it just took a downward. And I was going out because I wasn't playing. On a Friday night, I'd go out in the quayside, and you know, I met more friends, and it was just a downward. You know, not playing didn't help, but it was just one of those. My knee wasn't very good either, so I'll be honest. Newcastle's pretty good. Newcastle's pretty good. No, it's different because I have to say, I did like London.
You hated playing for West Ham.
I hated West Ham.
I'll clip it to make it sound like you said you hate West Ham.
I liked West Ham. Played some really good friends. Played with Trevor Brooken, quality, really good manager. I hated living in London. I lived in Canary Wharf. I absolutely hated every minute of it. Canary Wharf, but that's all it was. But as soon as I stepped out of the door, I hated it. Trying to go out for a beer for a few nights, and like, you know, you ought to go to central London was just crap. Sheffield, and I knew the places where to go. Like, so I love an old, you know, Saw and Spit Dust pub. I love them sort of pubs. So in Sheffield, I knew to go to Castle Market. The pub's down there. I knew to go to London Road. Whereas Newcastle, it was a different kettle of fish. That was mad. They're like, it was, every pub was like a nightclub. So it was just, you know, for that sort of reason, I enjoyed Newcastle. Is, you know, the women, they love a night out. But for that, I like there. But for actually talking and playing cards, and for being around in a working mess Sunday afternoon, playing cards, darts, you know, snooker, killer, whatever. I used to love all that. You know, I love that. I love the spit and sawdust of a pub, then of a night, unbelievable night out, great night out.
Well, we've kept you for ages. So, Nick, I'm only going to throw one more question at Quinny, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then you can choose to do the same. But it's about England, and you know, I think I speak for all player who was representing England under 21, and that B cap. Yeah. You know, you were kind of like a good luck charm as well, because you won all the games that you were involved in with the national.
Yeah. It's funny, I've come closer to scoring for England than I did for Sheffield, but I remember England under 21. My first cap was away. I think I've told you the story. No, I've said the story somewhere else now. I played England 21s, and my first call up. Bear in mind, I've just broken into the Sheffield United side as well. So, you know, I was really nervous when I got called up. Met Man United as Rio coming through. They're all playing. And my first train, so that was on the Sunday. So we were training on the Monday. So we drove to Wycombe Wanderers Football Club. Believe it or not, Gareth Ainsworth, who I don't understand. We drove to Wycombe Wanderers Football Club. And my first training session was there, and the England first team turned up. So my first training session with the England 21s was England 21 11 versus England first team 11. Wow. No. My first training session, okay, good players, but not those who I've seen on TV. I've seen these players on TV. My first training session, played 11. I played left back. Paul Murray, QPR, played in front of me, and then David Beckham was right midfield. Gary Neville was right back. Alan Shearer and Paul Ince midfield. Dan Antonin on the left. Stuart Pearce at left back. Tony Adams, Sol Campbell with David Seaman in goal. That was the 11 that we played. My first training session in 21s, and that's
one of the strongest England sides ever.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just after your 96, is it? Is it 97?
This will be 97.
Yeah. So that's just after that, and then so that was my first training session. We did 20 minutes of 11v11. When I said to you, I'll come back to it. That's when I first met him to speak to you, to say your thighs were massive. I saw you the first Quinny, and I have to say again, all of them, Quinny, they never met him before in my life, and that's the homework. What's the homework? But that's not like who are you or you know, where do you play, who do you play. It literally was Quinny, and they all like so nice. Like, well done, Quinny. Like, shook my hand, Gary. But Quinny, it's weird to every player. But then 20 minutes off, then I come back for the last 20 minutes, and then it changed. The team had changed, but in that time, Matt Letizia had come on, Ian Wright come on up front. The likes of, you know, Gareth Southgate played at the back. So the team, Graham Rousseau, all that sort of happened. So the team changed, but that was my first interaction with England 21. Fine. Then England, We won that Moldova at the crossbar on my right foot at Wickham. Could have scored. England 21 out in Italy, and we won. You'd be around professionals like they are. Like I talked to you earlier about experienced professionals. You know, like I said to you, like Warren Barton, Gary Speed, and Alan Shearer, to go and train England B and seeing them do the same thing it's an eye opener. It was just again, it was a highlight. You know, and then we played England B, won 5-0 against Russia. I played full 90 minutes. I played really well, and that was the talk. Then, if I stayed fit, I was picked in a 30-man England get together as the Shearers, the Beckhams. I was a 30-man, just a training before. I was never going to go to the World Cup, but it was just to train with them to get them ready to go to. But no, that's another thing to keep, to say, like, my name's with all these superstars of English football, you know, and my name was amongst it. So it was nice to keep.
Absolutely brilliant story, that. Yeah. That's one to tell for years and years. We've asked you earlier about kind of funniest teammate and stuff. Rob,
Lee Sanford and Trace. Because he was a great lad. He was fun. It's funny how you work in pranks and you work with jokes, but because he was sensible. I know weird when I say this. Because he was sensible. He was a prankster joke, but he's quite sensible with it. He was dozy sensible. If that makes sense. You'd giggle at what he was doing, thinking. But now I haven't got a Cosy story. But you probably read Curtis's book about when we was in Trinidad and Tobago with the cat, then the speedboat, and then it was Sandy and Trace with a fight on the beach. I mean, I've got loads of stories in respect to that. But Brownie on the plane with Dev. Dev must have told you that one, surely.
He didn't, because Hal, you'd heard it before, haven't you? And I hadn't at the time, but I have now. Yeah.
Devs didn't want to tell us for some reason.
No, that was crazy. It was crazy with that. But one of the funniest ones was, and probably funny now, 2 stories actually. We was in Trinidad and Tobago. We went away and we went on tour, and it was near one after money. Like, he must have got paid to take us, because we flew on what I can only describe as awful. It was like back in the 1940s. This plane was awful. Hence why we all got drunk and Dev nearly beat Brownie. But fine, that's fine. We landed, got in this worst hotel in the world, and we ended up getting out there, and we ended up drinking 11 days straight. But as soon as we got off the plane, we met some dignitaries out there. Like, when we got off the plane, we were all half cut, like Brownie's falling over. We're all falling 3 days time. You can't be seen to be. We're opening this Brian Lara footballers, you know, we're professional footballers. It went one out the other. We were for 3 days straight, round a port to being 10,000 people there, you know, 8,000 people. The whole of Trinidad was there. And it was boiling hot day. It was thirsty. It was all hungover. And we went Dog and Duck is not doing Dog and Duck justice. These were like terrible footballers. And the only reason we went 1-0 down is because we were drunk and skunk. And Trace, the day before, Curtis was sharing a room, and they always kept saying, "Oh, you youngsters, we can drink. All you youngsters, you know, we're old, we're groomed, we're seasoned drinkers. We can beat you, and we drink on the table." And they had a bottle of Carib that comes with this game. Tracy said, "I can't play. I feel sick. I can't play." So, and Gaffer's gone, "You're playing in goal." They said, "The starting 11, you're playing." I played. Curtis played. Dev played. Brownie played. We all played. Bentley played. 1-0 down against the Dog and Duck. Turn behind, so the ball happened. It's the slowest pass back you could ever imagine being. Not looking, thinking Trace is there. I thought Trace is in goal. As it was, Trace decided during this game, sweating his tits off, because Trace always wore black cycling shorts. He always wore a black undergarment, boiling hot heat. I passed the ball back, and as I turned back, all I've heard walking to the sideline, just gone, like just walked off the pitch. Like, he's not told he's gone, he's off the pitch. So we all going, "Trace!" People shouting Quinn. I'm going, "Trace, what's he doing?" And Gaffer's losing the plot. Fucking hell, Trace, what are you doing? And Gaffer, and as he's walking off, Trace is going, Gaffer, I'm going to faint. I've done it. I'm gone, Gaffer. I'm done. I'm Gaffer. In the meantime, this lad has gone on and scored, gone 1-0 down. Well, Gaffer's called a water break. Water break. We've come off, and he's laid into us in front of everybody. Like, he's laid into us. We've gone and won the game something like 12 or 13 or 4-1. But the story was, Tracy's just walked off, had enough, sweating his tits off. He's gone off, and the final one was when we was back at got back to the hotel, and Dean Riddle was our sports fitness coach. He was from New Zealand. He was a lovely lad, but he was horrible. He just, when you ran, he just ran you, and he was a lovely bloke, but he was just horrible. And we thought, how can we get him back? So me and Curtis now, from being drunk again, probably going back. We had to walk past his apartment block. To get to ours. And we realised he wasn't in. He'd gone for a meal with the coaching staff and with the gaffer, because the gaffer took him to. Because we went to a different hotel to Neil Warnock because we thought we'd get away with murder. Look, we can get, we do what we want at this hotel. So we went away and we stayed at a different hotel. So he had gone to his hotel. So we went to reception, me and Kirsten, half drunk, said, "Excuse me, can we have the room key for?" We've got my key. They'd give us this key. So we've gone into Dino's. We've trashed Dino's room, like absolutely trashed his room. So to a point where when he opens the door, he's going to walk in, and we've moved stuff. So it's like as he feels around, because it's pitch black, we've set one like a trail to follow, if that makes sense. But what we've done is we've set a trail to follow, we've moved the bed. But what he doesn't know, this is the funny part, is what we've done. We sent a trail on his way, but outside this apartment block villa, all you could hear was it's like these cats, like these stray cats, like making all these. Come stray cat, come wolf, come. I don't know what noise it was. It's just horrible noises, and we just thought it's funny. Look, imagine if we get a couple of these, throw them in the room. Well, exactly what we did. So we've heard him coming back now at reception because we were by the pool. So what we've done, it's pitch black. We've ran now. We've picked managed to find these two cats. Picked these two cats up, threw them in the room. Bearing in mind, we knew there's a little maze going. We threw them in the room, and we've just stood back. We've all run the pool now, like me, Sandy. We all run a pool, and all you've heard, Dina's gone in, light didn't work, closed light. He's filling out. All you heard, these cats going, wow, you just heard fucking everything going everywhere. Well, we've come out, man. The next day, we've come out. We were in tears. Which have you done that? What have you? Who's done that? And it was. We all cracked up. Nobody owned up to it. But the next day, he ran us. He ran us like proper blasted us.
I could see that coming.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good fun. It was good jest. It was such a. It was good. It was a weird old tour. That was. It was a weird old tour. Blackie and Sandy having a pop each other. It was weird. Brilliant tour. That was weird though.
It sounds it. We just keep hearing more and more stories about this tour.
Yeah, well,
brilliant.
There's two stories. We went, and the week after we left, Newcastle United were going to do the tournament. But when they got there, all they heard about, because I spoke to a couple of lads after I went to Newcastle, they said, "Were you part of the Sheffield United team that went to?" I said, "Yeah, I was." Is when we got there, they weren't allowed to leave the hotel. They weren't allowed to leave the hotel. They were literally banned to the hotel. They weren't allowed to leave. They was going to put on a drinking ban because long story short, the mayor and the president and what have you of Trinidad and Tobago said the last team that we had here were wrong, like proper ruffians, and we thought they'd behave better than that, but they were just totally out of control. We could control them. We just couldn't control them. We could not control them.
Oh,
think about Cozzy's story. I got one on the same tour. We're on a remote island. Believe it or not, Trinidad and Tobago on a remote island. They put a barbecue. This Trinidad committee put a barbecue on for us. So we now get drunk on this island. We've had burgers and everything. We've managed to get back. We've got a boat back to Tobago, and we're all drunk. Like I say, we're all pretty half cut. And we've got to a posh part of Tobago where, like, you've got nice, beautiful yachts moored up in the marina. We're like snobs, like men walking with like proper boat shoes on, and women like la-di-da and all this. And we're walked up like thugs with like Sheffield United shirts and all that on, well, polo shirts on. And this is like posh group of men v women playing volleyball. I remember playing volleyball, and you can hear them laughing and giggling. "Oh, you're brilliant! You're so good!" And we're sat there drinking. Been watching drinking now for a couple of hours, and they're sat playing this game. And Cozzy's gone. Literally gone. "I hate volleyball. I cannot stand volleyball. I cannot watch this no more." So during this game now, Cozzy's walked to this volleyball court on the beach. On the beach, where it's all nice and la-di-da sort of thing, where there's scones and jam and tea over there, sort of thing. That's how la-di-da, box of champagne going on. He's literally gone and caught mid-game, caught the volleyball, and launched it out to sea. "You ain't playing volleyball no more." And I just walked off, and they're all going, looking at each other, going, "This." But he just launched his volleyball, and we're all cracked up laughing. But yeah, that's what Cos is like. Cos just literally walked in the middle of everybody, la-di-da, and launched this volleyball. Launched it. Yeah, so Cos is a great lad. Yeah, good lads they are. Good lads.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'd say the same.
It's like a bully at school, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Your ball.
I don't think we ever got invited back anyway.
No, I think thank you for ruining the reputation of Sheffield United.
Yeah, it was all of us.
Wayne Quinn, you have been an absolute pleasure to speak to. We're really looking forward to this. You didn't disappoint. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Al, for inviting me and asking me on. And I say anything, in future, Any questions, mate? Let us know. Give us a call. I look forward to it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy talking about the old times. I don't do it enough. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for getting us off our feet on numerous occasions.
No problems whatsoever. Thank you so much for watching.
Cheers, Quinny.